I mean, it's sinister, but it's also funny. You know, that's why I wanted to write this children's book as Titania, because it's funny to me, the idea that you could make such a flagrant attempt at indoctrination and you don't have the self-awareness that people can see right through it. You know, it's insane. I laugh and I also get upset.
I'm with you, but I think that laughter and humor is so powerful. That's I think that's why what you do has resonated so much. I think it's why my deadlift tweet last year resonated so much because instead of just sort of getting angry and trying to use I often say you can't use logic and reason to get
Yeah,
someone out of a position that they reached just through emotion and irrationality, right?
right.
So, in a way, I don't even think that arguing with it makes that much sense for people who are
No.
fully indoctrinated. But taking those ideas
Mm.
and satirizing them, or just going along with them to an extreme, whether that's me constantly identifying as a white woman, or that's running a Twitter account as a white woman,
Yeah.
and
What are
and
you
just
today? Are you a white woman today? Is that your thing
um,
now?
it's not even on a daily basis for me. It's more just in the moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if I want to get a discount at the store, sometimes I identify as white and I get the 20% white privilege discount.
Right, right.
But if I want to claim the oppression points, then I'm, not just black, but I'm also indigenous and I have a disability that nobody can see. So,
Amazing. You like
whatever.
Jessica Krug, right? She can. That professor. Oh, what I love about that story, that professor who pretended to be black for all those years, and as a result, her career just blossomed. I, it did though. Like she got the top jobs, and you think. But I thought the narrative was that if you're black in America, you'll get absolutely nowhere. Why are people? That doesn't really make sense to me. Anyway, that was insane.
You're applying logic. That's the
But
thing.
she's like Rachel Dolezal times 100 though, because at least with Rachel Dolezal, she wrote a book about I mean, her parents are both they're the whitest people in the world, basically. And but she, I think, has a genuine psychological disorder. She wrote in this book about how when she was a children, she used to draw pictures of herself and color them in with brown crayons rather than peach crayons, and that because of course that's what all black people do. That's how you know you're black is. But she believes it,
Yeah.
and hearing her being interviewed, you think okay. And then there were discussions on even major news networks in America where people were saying, well, maybe it's possible to be black to be black if you choose to be black, right? We're in the realm of craziness. I think with Jessica Krug though, it was just opportunistic. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, we see that now because now when they say woman or they say black or they say person of color, etc., it'll have a little asterisk next to it, and you scan down the page, and it will say by black or by woman we mean people who identify as
Yeah,
such. That's pretty standard
exactly.
now.
I've seen that in NUS stuff, student stuff.
Yeah.
That came in a few years ago. People who identify as black, and no one will challenge you, of course. But then this makes it complicated because when in Edinburgh the students had this was last year they had a resisting whiteness sort of like conference, and they said that only people of color were allowed to participate in the Q&A. That was part of it. So they're getting it all confused because whiteness for them is like this weird nebulous thing. Okay, so but then if you look white but you identify as black, what if you're mixed race? Can you ask half a question or can you ask a question in a hushed tone? How do they determine? So either whiteness is a thing that anyone can enact, including people of color,
Mm.
or it is something you identify with skin color. They don't really know what it is. That's
Well,
what I
well,
like.
well, the same people will say that I'm not black and that I embody whiteness and white supremacy. So, you
Do you
know,
get that a lot then?
I get it a fair bit. I get it a fair bit. So yeah, I mean, look, I'll be honest. Like I said, I think the solution is for everybody to go full Titania. I think the solution is for
Yeah,
every.
maybe.
I think I'm starting to think the solution is for everyone to just say, okay, these are the rules. I think men should start going into women's changing rooms. I think that I think everyone. I think if there's an event for black people or people of color, I think loads of white people should come to it and identify as black and identify with the struggle. I think that black people should be identifying as white and claiming white privilege. I think everyone, if we're going to do it, I say like let's just go full on lunatic, and I think within a week we'll be done. I think within a
I'm,
week people will
I,
be like, you know what, this is maybe we should rethink
I,
some.
I think that would work if everyone did it, but I don't think you're going to get everyone to do it.
I think everyone should. I think the next time a white person is accused of white guilt or white fragility, I think they should say that they are indigenous and that they're a person of color and that you should not, and you've misgendered them. I think people should. I think people should
By the
go
way,
fully with it.
Why has no one problematized Robin DiAngelo, by the way?
Oh,
Like,
I
so,
have.
oh, have you? Good. Because but why haven't the woke attacked her? You know, she's a white woman writing about race. I thought she had to stay in her lane.
And
You know,
making what,
like,
20 grand per speech for
oh.
going in and lecturing people.
So when people say to me, you know, you're not allowed to talk about race because you're white. I'm like, well, why does no one ever say that about Robin DiAngelo? Is it because she's saying the things that you agree with? Maybe. You know, this is the thing. I mean, that book, it's one of the worst books I've ever read.
Yeah, I'm convinced she's the
Really,
most racist woman in America.
by her own admission, she's racist. That's what's
Yeah,
funny.
and she's projecting it. She thinks that everyone else is like her, which they're not. So,
The bit in the
um,
book that gets me is when she talks about being invited to a party, and there's two parties going on. It's a street party, and she says on the one side there were mostly black people at this gathering, and this other gathering mostly white people. And she had this fit of anxiety, or what if I've been invited to the black one, you know? And I think, wow, you are a racist, right? And and she then thinks, well, this is the way white people respond. This is what, and I'm like, I wouldn't have thought that.
exactly, exactly.
Don't talk for me. Like you're the crazy racist woman.
Yeah, she's projected her own insecurities and internal racism onto the entire white population,
Well,
and
I suppose it makes it easy to
people
deal
have
with.
accepted it. That's the thing, people have
That's
accepted
weird
it.
as well, exactly. Like, but I get it. Like, I suppose if you're innately racist because of your whiteness, then it kind of absolves you of responsibility for your terrible thoughts. It absolves her of the responsibility of reflecting on why she has such a negative view of black people. Why is it when she's at that conference and she describes, I can't remember, it's late in the book where she describes how one of her colleagues left, or someone walked out, and she turned to a colleague, a black woman, and she said, "Oh, maybe they left because of your hair." And I think, well, and then she
Wow.
says, my conclusion was that I have to reflect on my racism. And I'm thinking, yes, you do, because that statement wouldn't have occurred to me in a million years. And I don't know many white people. In fact, I don't know any white people who would have thought that, or even not only that, but had the gumption to say it out
Yeah,
loud. I mean, you know, like, so why, you know, why are we platforming this racist? Why?
none of it makes sense. This is coming from the same people who will say that we need more black voices, we need more melanated
Yeah,
voices, etc. And then as soon as I say something, they'll be telling me to sit down and shut up, and that I should be canceled, and perhaps I'm not even really black, despite having like the most African sounding name in the entire world if you hear the full version of it. Um, but
yeah, but you've
yeah,
gone to the opposite.
look,
That's what I mean.
I think like people, I do think that I think people need to stop taking it so seriously in a way. Like
Mm,
I think it should be taken seriously as in it needs to be dealt with, but people with these ridiculous ideas and ridiculous concepts and who are just spouting nonsense. When you see these tweets and it does look like something that Titania wrote, and it's just some blurb of complete nonsense. And instead
yeah,
of people going like, "Wow, this is amazing. We should pay attention to this person and how one like it should all I think it should be mocked. I think it should be
yeah, yeah,
satirized. It should just be like this is just insanity. When people
yeah.
are talking about how owning a dog is a sign of white supremacy because it makes you feel like you have a slave or something. I'm like, what planet are you? What are
But
you
that
even talking about? Or that thing that came out in the museum in U.S. where they were talking about symbols of whiteness, and it included things like logic,
oh, man,
rationality, timekeeping.
that's one of the
Basically,
most racist things I've ever seen.
I was so offended. I was like, wait.
But or yeah, exactly. Just list loads of positive characteristics and say that imply that black people have no right to. Oh, come on. I think you're right. Yeah, mockery. And the thing is, they know it. They know that mockery can damage them, right? And that's why they
Yeah.
go after comedy. That's why that you see it all the time. This problematizing jokes, problematizing comedians. Saying that all of this stuff normalizes hate and all the rest of it. They know because it makes them figures of fun, and every tyrant in history has killed the comics, has killed the clowns.
I do not scam. Put some respect on my name. Sick like Cobain.